Let's start with Kirk. I align with Kirk in some areas and I don't align with Kirk in some areas. And I would love to see what y'all think too. This was from his appearance on Sway.
If every church in America during segregation would have said that slavery is a sin, slavery would have never existed in America.
Yeah.
Slavery could have never existed in America if every Bible reading, I don't know what Bible they were reading. I don't know what Bible they were using, but if every Bible believing church during the 19th, 18th century would have collectively said that slavery is a sin, slavery would have never existed in America. I'm not talking about historical, because we know that in Egypt there were different forms of slavery where you could pay your way out. But I'm talking about this thing that disrupted and dismantled humans from their family, from their thinking, from their well-being, from their mental health.
Yeah.
That if we would have collectively, if Christians collectively would have said slavery is a sin, it would have never existed in America. Because that's how much power the church had in Western America. They were creating doctrines and dogmas, but a lot of these doctrines and dogmas also had to do with control. They were trying to control the habits and the ways and the executions of human behavior. Whether it's sexuality, whether it was giving, whether it was trying to have these monotheistic ideals or trying to make monotheistic ideals monolithic. And so when you look at all of the origins of controlling humankind, it came from dogma, it came from doctrine, where when you look at the teachings of Jesus Christ and when you look at the heart of the matter of the Gospels, it is about, if you're sick and if you're hurting, there's no way that I can be well when my brother's still sick and hurting.
What are we thinking?
And so I think some of what he says definitely rings true. So when we look historically at Pennsylvania was one of the first states to end slavery. And it's a direct result of the fact that the Quakers realized this institution is sinful. And when they came to that conclusion, they banned it in their churches. They banned it for all of their members. Those members who owned slaves, they gave them a timeline and said, you got to free your slaves by this timeline or you are no longer a member of our church. And when that timeline came, they actually did what they said they were going to do. And because so many of them lived in Pennsylvania, that actually led to it being one of the first states that ended slavery. That being said, when this topic came up in the ecosystem, Derek said something that I think was true. That being said, the reality is the people who came here with the intention of starting slavery. And so they had every intention of using religion as a way to start, to implement, and to continue slavery. They did not have what I call these days the political will. They didn't have the religious will to end it because that would have gotten in the way of their pockets, which is why it lasted as long as it did. But I do think that the Christian church at that time, and if they ever got their head together even now, could have more influence for good if they chose to. The problem is money and power get in the way just now like it did then.
It's not Christianity, it's Christianities. Like you can have Christians on the right side of history and Christians on the wrong side of history at the same time. So there were Christians fighting for slavery and Christians fighting against slavery. There were more Christians fighting for. We're gonna keep it a buck. There were more fighting for slavery, but there were some fighting against slavery too.
I think that there is always this little twinge in our gut to try to redeem the Bible. And so there's always this, if we follow the Bible, if we really look at the Bible, if we really look at scripture, when the truth of the matter is you can find justification for slavery in the Bible. So I know that we want the Bible to be this infallible documentation of stories, but every time we do that, I just have a little, I don't think we need to reference the Bible when it comes to, whether or not slavery is ethical. I think that that's the part that made me cringe.
I was thinking the same thing because, like, he started off talking about, I don't know what Bible they were reading. And then as he moved towards the end, he shifted from talking about the Bible to talking about Jesus, which are two totally different conversations. So it was like, was he using them interchangeably? Because I don't agree with that. Because it's very easy to make a case for slavery reading the Bible. It's not so easy to make a case if you're just reading Jesus. And I feel like he was using the Bible and Jesus interchangeably, but to me, those are two totally different things.
I think part of indoctrination is, singing "You Are the Living Word" and making these parallels where Jesus does equal the Bible.
Yeah.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't bring that up. With a post deconstruction, post evangelical lens, I can read Jesus and I can read the Gospels completely differently and see that when he said, I don't know where they got that from, I was like, nigga, I know exactly where they got that from. They got that from the enslavers' Bible. They got that from the Bible that they published with missing passages that propped up serving your master and convinced enslaved people that that was their spiritual DNA and their spiritual birthright, and that if we humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God through our oppressor Massa, that we would see heaven. And the thing about this that bothered me a little bit, and I just feel like maybe I'm just over celebrities, period, like Christian celebrities included, because I just feel like they lack the range to have these conversations sometimes. If you look at Christianity and racism, it's always been about a colonized Christ. It's never been about a Christ that we worship. And the power in the name of Jesus that Black folks have put there is a very different power. It's a very different presence, which is why white church and Black church, I hate to use that terminology, but we're in America with 3Ks. That's why that exists. Because on Sundays in the South or California or wherever you live, the Black people are going to go to the Black denominations, the white people are going to go to the white churches. And if you take it back even further, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, enslavement eras, y'all were bombing churches. Y'all were having spectacle lynchings. Y'all was going to church and then immediately leaving this high time in the Lord to go watch black bodies swing from a tree. So I want to echo what Pam said. We have to stop trying to redeem the Bible. We have to stop trying to redeem a Christ that has been completely used as a tool of empire. That Christ I have nothing to do with, and I will never embrace Christianity in that way, because if you look at American Christianity, from the root to the fruit, it's all tore up.
I think the thing about celebrities that we have to remember is that celebrities draw numbers and celebrities draw clicks. And I agree with Autumn that sometimes a lot of the celebrities, especially like gospel artists and people that we have seen growing up and watched growing up that have been on the radio, aren't equipped to have these conversations. But people who are asking them to have these conversations don't know that they're not equipped. They don't know that. So what happens is you get a show like Sway in the morning, or you get a show like Big Boy in the Neighborhood. You get a show like Ryan Cameron early in the morning. And what they will do is they will reach into gospel culture and pick a popular gospel artist to talk Bible. When that's it's two different areas. You're getting somebody who is in the entertainment of gospel, in the entertainment of faith, to come and talk about theology when they're really not equipped to talk about theology, because they were in the same Sunday school class as us. But people who aren't churched, they don't know that. They just say, oh, well, Kirk sings about God. Oh, well, Donnie McClurkin. Oh, well, CC Winans, they sing about the gospel. So let's bring them in to talk about Bible, when that's two different areas. And so I give celebrities a little bit of grace when it comes to that, because I don't necessarily know if they're asking to go on these shows, but I do know that because deconstruction is a thing, that a lot of these shows are reaching out to them to get their input. So yeah, the entertainment and the theology is two different lanes.
Yeah,
And
Kirk is on a press run right now for whatever reason. So he might be reaching out. His team might be reaching out to get these placements. They might be reaching out to him. I'm not 100% sure. But like I agree with a lot of what Kirk said, and I'm with Pamela. I'm with everybody who's spoken. The issue with trying to redeem the Bible as some infallible document is always going to bite Christians in the ass. And it's what's biting Kirk right now, because anybody who is able to look at the Bible objectively can see that the Bible condones slavery throughout, from Old Testament to New Testament. It gave rules for how to handle your slave, but it never condemns slavery as an institution. And there are narratives and stories that talk about freedom and liberation, but that doesn't negate the fact that slavery was still a thing. Also, many people find excuses for slavery. Like even in our generation, we're still making excuses for slavery. The prison industrial complex is slavery. The 13th Amendment, which banned slavery in the United States, had a loophole. The loophole in the 13th Amendment was you won't be held as a slave unless you commit a crime. And after slavery ended, that's when they started jailing a whole bunch of people. They created laws against Black people not having a job. And then the only job they could get was to be a sharecropper, which was just another form of slavery. Or they would imprison them for not having a job, and then they would lease them to the plantation owners. So slavery never really ended, and we're doing it right now. So future generations are going to look back on us right now and be like, how did they allow this to happen? How did they allow all of these millions of people to be in prison for these BS crimes? You know, all these people who've been in prison for marijuana charges. Like, people going to look back on our generation and say the same thing. But here's one thing I want to show, because, you know, I like to give a little Bible every now and then. And here's one of those things I wrote about slavery in my book. Slavery was a very significant topic of study for me as I was navigating my own theology, because, you know, it started with reflecting on human sexuality. And I knew once I reflected on human sexuality that my embedded theology was not going to work, because my embedded theology was harmful to people, to queer people. I was like, okay, I can't do that. But then I still got like this whole Bible thing. I don't see anything in the Bible that like explicitly affirms queer people. You know, a lot of stuff is left up to interpretation. And then I asked myself, okay, maybe the Bible's wrong about queer people. And then I said, is the Bible wrong about anything else? And I started studying slavery in the Bible. And I was like, whoa, the Bible got slavery all wrong. And I'm going to just give you one example. I'm going to give you one example because I want y'all to have this. Let me see. I was supposed to set this up before we got here now, but we had things going on. So let me see here. There we go. All right. So this is in Exodus 21. All right. This is a New Revised Standard updated version. Exodus 21 has the law concerning violence, right? So it's talking about how people will be handled if they commit acts of violence. This is the chapter after the 10 Commandments chapter. So verse 12, it says, whoever strikes a person mortally shall be put to death. Like point blank, period. Whoever strikes a person mortally shall be put to death. Okay. And then it continues to go on. Whoever strikes father or mother shall be what? Put to death. Verse 16, whoever kidnaps a person, whether that person has been sold or is still held in possession, shall be what? Put to death. Whoever curses father or mother shall be what? Put to death. When individuals quarrel and one strikes the other with a stone or fist, so that the injured party, though not dead, is confined to bed, but recovers and walks around outside with the help of a staff, then the assailant shall be free of liability except to pay for the loss of time and to arrange for full recovery. So in this case, if you do an act of violence and the person doesn't die, then you just got to pay for their recovery, because in this time it was an eye for an eye. That was the law. Like, you kill somebody, we gonna kill you. All right. So everybody that kills somebody is supposed to be what? Put to death. But when you get to verse 20, it says, when a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be what? Punished. Damn, that's vague. Why is it when they kill somebody else, they're going to get put to death, but when they kill a slave, it's just an ambiguous punishment? It suggests to me that they don't see the slave as a full human being, because in verse 12, it said, if you kill anybody, you're going to get put to death. But right here, if a slave master kills the slave, then they just going to get punished. But look, it's not over. In verse 21, it says, if the slave survives a day or two, there's no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property. This is the Bible, y'all. Like, this is in your Bible too. It's in all of our Bibles. It's right there. But you know, that stuff isn't taught because we're conditioned to believe that the Bible is infallible and inerrant. It can't be wrong. It has no errors. It has no contradictions. So then we'll either gloss right over that part of the Bible, or we'll reinterpret it to fit our implicit bias. We'll reinterpret it to fit our doctrine. Because when I was in my era of trying to reason with fundamentalists, this was early on, right? I went to seminary in 2013. Like 2015 to like 2016, I was still trying to reason with people who were being unreasonable. And I was having a conversation with a college classmate of mine about this particular passage. And I was like, bro, like, it says it right here. Like, no harm, no foul, because the slave was the owner's property. You know what this dude told me? And this is a pastor who told me this. He was like, well, see, you got to understand the meta narrative of the Bible. It's all about justice. So when it's calling the slave property, you got to understand, in the original language, property means treasure. So it's really saying like the slave was a treasure. Like, it's actually lifting up the slave. Nigga, no. If you're still here, hit the subscribe button and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the video. And if you want to see the entire recording, it's exclusively available in our Patreon. The link is in the show notes. You can either subscribe or you can just purchase this recording a la carte. We'll see you next time as we continue to deconstruct harmful theology and build beloved community. Peace out.